Hello, YouTube fam. Get ready for an amazing video experience. We extend a warm welcome to you as we discuss and analyze Jailhouse Rock film in this video. Jailhouse Rock is a 1957 American musical drama film directed by Richard Thorpe and starring Elvis Presley. Adapted by Guy Trosper from a story written by Nedrick Young, the film tells the story of Vince Everett Presley, a convict who learns the guitar while in prison and becomes a star following his release. 4 of the film's songs were written by Leiber and Mike Stoller, including the title track, which became a highly praised production number in the film as well as one of Presley's biggest hit singles, spending 7 weeks at number 1 on the US charts. Jailhouse Rock premiered in Memphis, Tennessee on October 17, 1957, and was released nationwide on November 8. It peaked on the Variety box office chart and finished for the year, grossing $4 million. The film initially earned mixed reviews, with much of the negative targeted at the unpleasant personality of the character played by Presley. The release was also somewhat overshadowed by the tragic highway death of leading lady Judy Tyler shortly after the film's completion. Presley reportedly was so devastated by Tyler's death that he never watched the film or discussed it. In 2004, Jailhouse Rock was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress, who deemed it culturally, aesthetically, or historically significant. In this chapter, we'll be unraveling the enigma of plot and discovering its transformative power. Construction worker Vince Everett accidentally kills a drunken man in a brawl and is sentenced to between a minimum of 1 to a maximum of 10 years in the state penitentiary. His cellmate, washed-up country singer Hank Houghton, incarcerated for bank robbery, teaches Vince some guitar chords. Hank then convinces Vince to participate in an inmate show that is broadcast on nationwide television. After his appearance, Vince receives fan letters, but the warden prevents their delivery. Hank convinces Vince to sign a pact to become equal partners in his act when they are both free. Later, during an inmate riot in the mess hall, a guard shoves Vince, who retaliates by striking him. As punishment, the warden orders Vince to be lashed with a whip. Vince later learns that Hank attempted to bribe the guards to forego the punishment but did not have enough money. Upon Vince's release 14 months later, the warden gives him his withheld fan mail. Hank promises Vince a singing job at a nightclub owned by a friend. There, Vince meets Peggy Van Alden, a promoter for pop singer Mickey Alba. Vince is surprised when the club owner denies him a job as a singer but offers him a job as a bar boy. To prove himself to the owner, Vince takes the stage to sing when the house band takes a break. However, a customer laughs throughout the performance. Enraged, Vince smashes his guitar and leaves the club. Peggy then persuades him to record a demo so that he can listen to himself sing. The recording helps Vince improve his style, and he records a song. Peggy takes the tape to Geneva Records, where the manager seems unimpressed but reluctantly agrees to play the tape for his boss in New York. The next day, Peggy informs Vince that the song has been sold. She then takes him to a party at her parents' home, but Vince leaves after offending a guest whom he mistakenly believes is belittling him. Angry, Peggy confronts Vince, who kisses her. Later, the two discover that Geneva Records gave the song to Mickey Alba. Alba recorded and released the song, thereby stealing it. Infuriated, Vince storms into the label's office and attacks the manager. To avoid a similar misfortune, Vince convinces Peggy to form their own label, which they name Laurel Records, and hire attorney Mr. Shaw's to oversee the business. Vince then records another song and begins pitching it. The song is universally rejected until Peggy convinces a friend, disc jockey Teddy Talbot, to air it. Then, it becomes a hit. Vince asks Peggy out to celebrate but is disappointed to learn that she had already accepted a dinner date with Teddy. Later, Vince makes arrangements for another television show. At a party, Hank, who has been granted parole, persuades Vince to give him a part in the show in an effort to revive his own music career. However, Hank's number ends up being cut because of his outdated music style. Vince later informs Hunk that the pact that they signed in prison is worthless. However, indebted to Hunk for having tried to bribe the guards, Vince offers him a job with his entourage. Vince soon becomes a star. However, Peggy no longer speaks with Vince, as his success has made him arrogant. Vince signs a movie deal, and the studio head asks him to spend the day with his conceited co-star Sherry Wilson for publicity purposes. Sherry then falls in love with Vince after shooting a kissing scene. Mr. Shores later approaches Vince with an offer from Geneva Records to purchase Laurel Records and sign him to a rich contract. Peggy refuses to sell and is devastated when Vince wants to close the deal anyway. Enraged by Vince's egotism and treatment of Peggy, Hunk starts a fight and strikes Vince in the throat, endangering the latter's voice and singing ability. At the hospital, Vince forgives Hunk and realizes that he loves Peggy and that she loves him. Vince's doctor later informs him that his vocal cords are fully recovered, and in the living room, Vince tests his voice by singing to Peggy. Realizing that Vince's singing voice is intact and his worries are unfounded, the two put their arms around each other. In this chapter, we'll be unraveling the enigma of caste and discovering its transformative power. Elvis Presley as Vince Everett, an ex-con who becomes a singing star. Producer Pandro South. Berman's wife convinced him to make a film with Presley in the leading role. Presley's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, was only interested in the film's score and the rights to record sales and publishing royalties, and Presley was paid $250,000 and 50% of the film's royalties. Judy Tyler as Peggy Van Alden, a music promoter who helps Vince build his career and becomes his lover. Tyler was previously known for her part as Princess Summerfall Winter Spring on the television show Heavy Duty and as Susie in the Broadway musical Pipe Dream 1955. Tyler took a 3-month leave of absence from Heavy Duty to shoot the film. Tyler and her husband were killed in a car crash on July 3, just days after production was completed and before its premiere. Presley was so devastated that he refused to watch the film. Mickey Shaughnessy as Hunk Houghton, Vince's cellmate and a former country singer. He teaches Vince the guitar and later becomes Vince's assistant. Shaughnessy was known as Leiber in From Here to Eternity 1953. He was also a comedian, and Variety reported that Shaughnessy had performed a 45-minute routine deriding Presley sometime before the film was made. Elaine Dundee, author of the book Elvis and Gladys 1985, considered his selection an odd choice and the result of Berman's lack of involvement with casting. Von Taylor as Mr. Shores, an attorney whom Vince and Peggy hire to manage Vince's financial affairs. William Forrest as the studio head, uncredited. Jennifer Holden as starlet Sherry Wilson. The film was Holden's debut. After auditioning for the role at MGM in May 1956, she was selected immediately. She studied drama with Lillian Roth and had previously appeared on stage. Dean Jones as disc jockey Teddy Talbot. Jones was formerly a blues singer, and he was coached for the role by disc jockeys Ira Cook and Dewey Phillips. Jones went on to star in a string of Walt Disney films. Ann Nayland as Laurie Jackson, Jailhouse Rock co-writer Mike Stoller of the Leiber and Stoller songwriting partnership and Presley's regular band during that period. Scotty Moore, Bill Black and DJ Fontaine appear as Vince's band throughout the film, though uncredited. Now let's delve into the intricacies of production and explore its various aspects. Jailhouse Rock was Presley's third film and his first for Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios, filmed in Culver City, California. The film was originally titled The Hard Way and was changed to Jailhouse Kid before MGM finally settled on Jailhouse Rock. The film was not listed with the studio's planned releases for the year because it was based on a story by Nedrick Young, a blacklisted writer. During production, producer Pandro Berman was more focused on another of his productions, the 1958 film The Brothers Karamazov. He allowed studio head Benny Thau and William Morris agency president Abe Lastfogel to select the cast. Richard Thorpe, who had a reputation for quickly finishing projects, was chosen to direct the film. The first scene filmed was the title dance sequence to the song Jailhouse Rock. Presley was not initially pleased with the direction of choreographer Alex Romero, so Romero asked Presley to try his own moves for the final sequence. The scene has often been cited as Presley's greatest musical moment on screen. Filming began on May 13, 1957, with the newly created choreography. Presley's characteristic hairstyle and sideburns were covered with a wig and makeup for the musical and jail scenes. During the performance, one of Presley's dental caps detached and became lodged in his lung, and he spent a night in the hospital before filming resumed the next day. Thorpe, who usually filmed scenes in a single take, finished the film by June 17, 1957. In the next portion, we'll be immersing ourselves in the realm of soundtrack and examining its broader implications. Before production began, rock and roll songwriting partners Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller were commissioned to create the film's soundtrack, but they did not send any material to MGM for months. In April 1957, the studio summoned the writers to New York, and Gene Aberbach, director of the Hill and Range Music Publishing Company, confronted them demanding to see the songs. When told that there was no material, Aberbach locked the songwriters in their hotel room and would not allow them to leave until they had written songs. 4 hours later, Leiber and Stoller had written I Want to Be Free, Treat Me Nice, You're So Sweet Baby I Don't Care, and Jailhouse Rock. Presley recorded the finished songs at radio recorders in Hollywood on April 30 and May 3, 1957. With an additional session at the MGM Soundstage in Hollywood on May 9 for Don't Leave Me Now. Leiber and Stoller were invited to the recording session of April 30, where they met Presley, who convinced MGM to cast Stoller as the band's pianist in the film. During filming, Presley mimed the words for film's musical numbers, and the music was later added to the finished scenes. The following songs in the film were performed by Presley unless otherwise noted. Don't More Day Sid Tepper, Roy Celsius. Bennett performed by Mickey Shaughnessy Young and Beautiful Abner Silva. Aaron Schroeder, I Want to Be Free, Jerry Leiber. Mike Stoller, Don't Leave Me Now, Aaron Schroeder. Ben Weissman, Treat Me Nice, Jerry Leiber. Mike Stoller, Jailhouse Rock, Jerry Leiber. Mike Stoller, Dance Routine choreographed by Elvis Presley, You're So Sweet Baby I Don't Care, Jerry Leiber. Mike Stoller. Presley also played electric bass. Now, let's shift our attention to release. Jailhouse Rock premiered on October 17, 1957, at Lowe's State Theater in Memphis. Female-led Judy Tyler had been killed in an automobile accident soon before the film's release, and a devastated Presley did not attend the premiere. The film opened nationally on November 8. As we venture forward, let's examine box office in detail and gain a deeper appreciation for its significance. The film peaked on the Variety box office chart and reached for the year. According to MGM Records, the film earned $3.20 million in the US and Canada and $1,075,000 elsewhere during its initial theatrical run, resulting in a profit of $1,051,000. In 1957, Presley was ranked the 4th leading box office commodity in the film industry. According to Variety, by 1969, Jailhouse Rock's gross income in the US and Canada was comparable to that of The Wizard of Oz 1939. Welcome to the next segment, where we explore critical reception and its significance in our journey. Jailhouse Rock earned mixed, largely negative, reviews upon release, although critical opinion has tended to be more favorable over time. Some contemporary critics found it scandalous because it portrayed Vince Everett as an unshirked character, presented a convict as a hero, used the word hell as a profanity, and included a scene with Presley in bed with Tyler. The Parent-Teacher Association described the film as a hackneyed, blown-up tale with cheap human values. The New York Times criticized Guy Trosper for writing a screenplay in which the secondary characters were forced to hang on to the hero's flying mane and ego for the entire picture. Q magazine called the film unpleasant, mediocre, and tasteless drama. Some publications criticized Presley. Time and his on-stage personality, while the Miami News compared the film with horror pictures and wrote, "Only Elvis Presley and his Jailhouse Rock can keep pace with the movie debut of this personality, the records show," in estimating the lasting appeal of the grotesque performer. Jazz magazine Downbeat wrote that Presley's acting was amateurish and bland. British magazine The Spectator described Presley's evolution from his silly performance in Loving You to dangerously near being repulsive. Other reviewers responded more positively to the film. Louise Book of the Schenectady Gazette wrote that it's Dear Elvis that gets the soft focus camera and the arty photography. Boyka remarked upon the low production costs of the film and said that Presley was in top singing and personality form. The Gadsden Times said, "Elvis Presley not only proves himself as a dramatic actor, but also reveals his versatility by dancing on the screen for the first time." The movie also contains Elvis' unique style of singing. Look favored the film, describing how one audience registered, loud and often, its approval of what may accurately be described as the star's first big dramatic singing role. More recent critics have tended to praise the film for its vivid portrayal of an iconic moment in music history, and as a welcome contrast to Presley's later films, most of them fluffy musical comedies. Leonard Maltin wrote that Presley's best film captures the legend in all his nostril-flaring pre-army glory. Author Thomas Doherty wrote in his 2002 book Teenagers and Tinpics, The Juvenilization of American Movies in the in Jailhouse Rock, the treatment of rock and roll music, both as narrative content and as cinematic performance, is knowing and respectful. The elaborate choreography for the title tune, the long takes and uninterrupted screen time given to the other numbers, and the musical pacing rock and roll builds in quality and intensity all show an indigenous appreciation of Presley's rock and roll. Critic Hal Erickson of Orovi wrote that the film is a perfect balance of song and story from beginning to end. Mark Deming, also of Orovi, wrote that Jailhouse Rock was one of few vehicles which really caught his raw, sexy energy and sneering charisma on film. The review aggregate website Rotten Tomatoes lists the film with an overall 67% fresh approval rating based on 42 reviews. It currently has a Metacritic score of 68 out of 100, based on reviews from 12 critics. Let's zoom in on accolades and understand its implications. In 1991, Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller were awarded with an ASCAP Award for Most Performed Feature Film Standards for the song Jailhouse Rock. In 2004, Jailhouse Rock was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry, as it was deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. The film is famous for the dance sequence also choreographed by Presley, in which Presley sings the title track while on stage, cavorting with other inmates through a set resembling a block of jail cells. The sequence is widely acknowledged as the most memorable musical scene in Presley's 30 narrative films, and is credited by some music historians as the prototype for the modern music video. Jailhouse Rock ranked 495th on Empire's 2008 list of the 500 greatest films of all time. The film is recognized by American Film Institute in these lists of these 100 years songs. Jailhouse Rock 2006, these greatest movie musicals nominated. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications.